Hi, this is Viking Guitar. Now I know that some of you that listen to my music and watch my videos, in addition to just being fans of my incredible, timeless, cultured music, are also guitarists yourselves, and that some of you, in addition to being guitarists, are interested in home recording. Now, I have a whole series of online tutorials called Viking Guitar University that covers a lot of the basics on how to play guitar and how to get started with home recording. But unfortunately, that's had to kind of take a back burner lately because I've been working on a lot of different musical projects. One of those musical projects is the soon-to-be-released album, Legion. This is a full band recording featuring the Viking Guitar live lineup from MagFest 12. It's available for pre-order now from vikingguitar.bandcamp.com and will be released Saturday, June 28th. I highly recommend you guys take a listen to it if you're interested in the stuff I've put out before. But that's not really what we're here to talk about today. What I wanted to do is take this opportunity to show you being guitarists that are interested in home recording, how it is I structured my lead guitar sound for this album. I think this is something you might find interesting because I don't have a huge setup here. I'm not running through an amp, and I'm kind of doing this based on some fairly cost-effective solutions. I use a lot of free software for my stuff, and I think that's beneficial for people in similar situations to myself, where you can't just go drop $1,500 on a nice amp and a nice mic with it. So what we're going to do is we're going to take a look at the distorted lead guitar sound that I use for a lot of the tracks on the upcoming Legion album. So without further ado, let's get into it. First, obviously, we have the guitar. This is an Ibanez RGA-7. It's a 7-string guitar. You can see because there's 7 tuners. And I've got this kind of outfitted with a dimarzio Crunch Lab 7 and liquefier 7 instead of the stock pickups. I really like this guitar. I guess it could be called a budget model. It's not super expensive. It's not a prestige series or anything like that. It was about $650 brand spanking new, and then with the pickups, you know, that's only about $100 more. So not super expensive. That being said, I don't use the 7th string in a lot of my soloing, so you can get by with a 6. Ibanez makes a lot of really good lower-end models, and you can pick one up for probably in the ballpark of $250, $300, and you're probably getting a good guitar. I've been using Ibanez almost exclusively for coming up on 8 years now, and I really, really like it. That being said, any 6-string you have is going to work fine. I keep this guy in drop A tuning, which means that the low 7 is a dropped A, which is a full octave down from the 5th string A. But you can use any 6 and just keep it in standard tuning. From there, I run into my computer by using a Line 6 tone port UX2 interface. Now this has, since the point I've bought it, been rebranded as the PodFarm UX2, but it's the same product as far as I know. That being said, you don't need all the functionality that the UX2 offers in order to record the guitar lines that I recorded for Legion. At the very least, you can get one of their little Guitar GX units, which doesn't have any mic inputs and just has one guitar input. That's all you need to do this. From the tone port, I run the signal in the computer into a digital audio workstation called Reaper. Reaper is a great piece of software. It's what I use to make all of my music, and it's what I've used exclusively since 2008. Reaper is not a free piece of software, but a full license, as long as you're not using it commercially, only costs $60. And on top of that, you can download the demo version of Reaper, and it is fully functional for as long as you want it to be. It doesn't cripple the program in any way, and all it'll do is start sending up a nag screen when you load it if you haven't purchased it. I highly, highly recommend you check out Reaper, and if you use it and you enjoy it, toss $60 their way. They make good software, and it doesn't hurt to support them. The UX2 comes with a piece of companion software called PodFarm. PodFarm's a guitar amp simulator. What you can do in the mixer settings of PodFarm, though, is designate 2 different outputs, one with the wet signal and one with the dry signal. This way, you can listen to a placeholder tone in PodFarm while you're recording a dry guitar signal without any amplification. This gives you maximum flexibility for changing the guitar sound without having to re-record the part. After your guitar signal goes through Pod Farm, it gets into Reaper. What you need to do in Reaper is create a track to record your guitar line on, arm it to record, and then under the input here, make sure you set it to the appropriate input from your input device to record the dry signal. Right now this is just picking up my voice as I'm talking, so we're going to turn that off for the time being. After you've recorded your guitar line, it's going to look a little something like this, and this just represents the dry waveform of the guitar. If we listen to it without any amplification, it sounds like this. Kind of cool, not very exciting, not what we want for our final tone. So what happens is this whole sound goes through this track and then whatever effects are on that track. So we're going to open up our effects chain for that track and take a look at what we actually have. First off, we have the TSE 808 overdrive pedal, VST, which you can get from the link on the screen. This simulates an old overdrive pedal, and I think it really adds a lot to the guitar sound. I recommend you go check it out if you're looking for it. Free plugin, though you can donate to the site, and if you like it, donate. The next one we're using is it goes from the stomp box to the actual amp head, which is the Paolin LE456 amp. This is another free download that you can get from the link on the screen. And once again, if you can toss a few bucks to the creator, I'm sure he'd appreciate it, especially if you get a lot of use out of the amp. Now that we've emulated the stomp box and the amp head, we need to emulate the speaker cabinet. This is another Paolin product, another free one called Liquefier 2, and this lets you load simultaneously up to 6 different speaker impulses. Now what these speaker impulses are is each one kind of replicates a certain microphone at a certain position and distance from a certain type of speaker cabinet. The best advice I can give you is get as many as you can that are free and just mess around with them in combinations of them. I would not try and find one that is perfect for you. This one I'm using right now, I've tried 4 of them and I ended up using 2. So definitely be prepared to stack the impulses to get a sound you like. For each one, you can set the phase, the delay, high pass and low pass, pan and volume. So it gives you a lot of customization just within the Liquefier 2 plugin right here. The 2 impulses I'm using right now, I'm not using these 2 on the right, I'm just using these 2, and both of these are JTW impulses that you can get from the link on the screen. I believe this is the only product I'm recommending today that is not free. This is something I purchased. It's a whole impulse pack, and I really like them, and they're very cost effective. You do not have to get them, and you can find lots of good free plugins, or impulses rather, but if you're looking to pick these up, I'd say it's probably a worthy investment. So at this point, what we've done is we've emulated a stomp box, the amp head itself, and then the cabinet with the microphone set up to the cabinet. After this point, I set it through some equalization, and this is just to kind of clear out some of the issues with the lead sound. Some of them are corrective, like there was a hissing up here at around 8,000 K that I didn't really like too much. This is a low shelf, which is actually functioning as a high pass just to get rid of some of the low end to clear up space in the mix for other instruments, and the rest of these are just mild shaping tools to kind of get the sound how I want it. From there, I run through this classic chorus plugin. This is, I'm going to mispronounce this, but House Audio. Once again, a free plugin. You can get it from the link on the screen. And I have the mix set relatively low. This just adds a little bit of choiry type warble to the lead sound, and it's something I like. So what we're going to do is we're going to turn on the effects chain, but we're going to turn off all the individual effects. And we're going to listen to it completely dry. And then we're going to add each one, and you can hear the difference in the sound. So this is it completely dry. With just the distortion on. And mind you, a few of these are going to sound really bad, especially right up to the point where we add the cabinet. So this is just the distortion box. Now we add the amp. Brace your ears, turn down your volume for a moment. Now we add the cabinet, which really is where this actually starts sounding like a distorted guitar sound, a good one. I'm going to turn the volume down a little bit because we're getting some clipping. After that, we have the EQ, and now it's going to sound a bit more like it should actually sit in a mix. This is an important one, so we're going to play this back again with it off and then on, and I'm going to switch it a few times. So we're going to start with it off. From there, we're going to add the chorus. And that's pretty much the sound right there. Now what happens is it goes through this track and then up through the parent track, which has its own series of effects on it. This effect on here, all I have is an EQ. And this is mainly just to correct a few other problems that were resulting from this sound in the context of mixing it with the other instruments involved in this song. So we're not going to bother listening through it again with that on. It's essentially the same. Now, what happens at this point is these two signals are routed through two other effect sends. The first one is I route the solo guitar sound itself before it goes through the parent track through this delay 3/8 track. And all this is this is a track that has a delay effect on it, once again by Carehouse Audio, free effect, and I set it to a 3/8 time on there, so it's not quite on beat, it just gives a little interest. So we're going to mute it and listen to it without it real quick. And now with the delay. Kind of cool. Makes it sound much more like lead guitar you'd hear in a metal recording. The other track here, guitar verb, I route the parent track through. And what this has on it is once again a Carehouse Audio effect. It's their free reverb effect, and I've set it up to just sound kind of like the room you might hear a speaker cabinet and amp in while it's being mic'd. So what we're going to do is we're just going to listen to the guitar reverb sound here. We're going to turn off the delay too. So you can hear it kind of sounds like the ambient early reflection sound you'd be getting in a room as you're recording guitar line. So let's listen to the main lead line here without that verb. And now with. It's a very subtle difference, but in my opinion, it's an important difference. Now, keep in mind, the reason I have this going through a parent track is I would have other tracks under here too, for rhythm lines, different lead lines, different guitar sounds. All of it ends up in the Eric parent track here, and all of it goes through this slight EQ adjustment, and then all of it gets sent to this guitar verb. Now, just the solo lead guitar sound gets sent to the delay because I don't want that on my rhythm guitars and stuff. So when we listen back through it, we're going to turn off everything and listen to it dry one more time, just so you have the contrast. And now with everything, all the amp emulation, additional EQing, going through the delay, and going through the reverb. And that's it. There's further mixing and mastering that goes on for the song, but I've shown you literally everything that happens to the lead guitar sound before it gets to the mastering process. I hope you've enjoyed this video. I hope you've learned something and can apply these concepts and these tools to your own recordings the next time you record something. And I also hope you get a chance to check out Legion. Once again, you can pre-order it from vikingguitar.bandcamp.com. Comes out June 28th. We'd love to have you check it out, all of us from Viking Guitar Live. But more importantly, what we would love is for you to keep the world metal.